Hey, happy Sunday, everybody. Mark again here, WeatherMan Plus. Good morning to all of you. Now, I'm going to give you an update on the new information that's come out for the tropics and what can be expected for our hurricane season, as well as when it's going to start getting a little more intense, a little more worse. I'm starting to show that now we're going to start getting a northward push coming off our MDR, and this would more than likely affect the east coast of the U.S., maybe even the southeast of the U.S., before our Gulf of Mexico gets affected. Now, I have this so you can see your storms that you're going to have for today, but as we go into tomorrow, there's a bigger tornado threat as we go towards the northeast with all of these storms. And I will be doing a severe weather update early in the morning for tomorrow so we can see exactly what's going on with that tornado threat in the northeast for tomorrow, as well as this bigger storm that's coming around the 20th I've been telling y'all about. I see bigger threats with that as well. So I'll do that first thing in the morning. But remember, if you're liking these tropical updates, remember, hit that like button, help support the video, share this information with another so they can plan around what's going on in the tropics. Thank you so much for your time this morning. God bless every single one of you. I hope you have a very blessed Sunday today. So starting off in Eastern Pacific, Darby finally died out. It met too much cold waters by the Hawaiian Islands, and that's pretty much what protects Hawaii a lot. And Estelle is a hurricane this morning. It's 80 miles per hour winds, 90-88 millibar pressure, and it is moving west northwest at 9 miles per hour. And you can also see here on the National Hurricane Center guidance that it is predicted to become a major hurricane as you go into Monday into Tuesday and then weakening back down because it's going towards cooler waters. And you can see here on the probability page of Hurricane Estelle that it is predicted to go west-northwest, but take that westward push towards Hawaiian Islands again. But all this cool water, which is what fuse down Darby, will fuse down Estelle as well. And you can see here clearly that your cyclone intensity does die off as it goes through Thursday and beyond, so it's not going to be no effect towards Hawaii neither. You also start losing your 10-meter wind speed. It starts dying down very quickly to not much of anything once it hits that cooler waters on Wednesday and Thursday, as well as your millibar pressure starts weakening dramatically as it gets towards that cooler water, going down to almost nothing. So let's go through our tropical waves first. We have 4 tropical waves. We have 2 of them in our Caribbean now, 1 approaching the Caribbean and 1 in our MDR. So our first one is a Central Atlantic tropical wave near 39 west from 19 north and southward, and it is moving west at 20 knots. And that puts that wave right about here in the center of the MDR, moving to the west. And I am showing that the next waves coming off the coast of Africa are starting to make a northward push. We also have a Western Atlantic tropical wave now approaching the Lesser Antilles, south of 17 north, moving west at 15 knots also. And that puts that wave right here in front of that one, just close to the Caribbean, about to move his way to the west. We also have a Central Caribbean tropical wave near 74 west from Haiti to Colombia, and it's moving west at 10 to 15 knots also. And that puts that wave right about here, moving to the west. All these are getting suppressed down by the dust, and they are going to be going into the Eastern Pacific. Plus, we have a Western Caribbean tropical wave near 81 west from just west of the Cayman Islands. And this is southward across western Panama into the Eastern Pacific Ocean, moving west at 10 to 15 knots. So you have another tropical wave that is reaching way out, but it's starting to get the low pressure over here by the Central American Gyre. This is where everything pretty much forms up right now, and it is moving into the Pacific Ocean. This is where the next 2 waves are going to go. And they're all getting suppressed by this dust. So you can see here from National Hurricane Center that you have your monsoon trough going all the way down into the Pacific still. And you have your tropical wave up here western of the Cayman Islands. And it is going to be reaching down to the west-southwest. You also have that next tropical wave that is getting a low pressure system over here going towards the west-southwest following this monsoon trough. Plus the other wave that is reaching the Antilles, it is going to follow this monsoon trough, go over Venezuela and go west-southwest into the Pacific as well. Now, not only Estelle that we have over here, we have that very weak wave moving through Central America. We have that other wave that is going towards the Eastern Pacific. This will form up into the Pacific, as well as a wave going towards the Antilles and the next wave in the middle of the MDR. And we do have more coming off the coast of Africa, and the winds are starting to shift to a northward push coming off the coast of Africa. And when you look at your tropical storm probabilities, you can see it clearly on this page what the pattern we're about to go into and how it's going to start pushing more northern. So you can see clearly that the next 4 days all the way to the next 10 or 11 days, this is all going to get pushed towards the Central American gyre and go into the Eastern Pacific, as well as that storm coming up in the northeast. And that pink right there is only a 5 to 10% chance of a tropical storm to form. But you can see how everything starts going immediately south off the coast of Africa and follows into the Eastern Pacific. Now, as we keep going along from there and see our probabilities, you see how it kind of climbs up to where we have a better chance of things going into our western MDR and start curving towards the islands, towards Puerto Rico. And if this high pressure moves back to the east-northeast, this could swing around to the southeast. If the high pressure stays, it's going to be fighting this high pressure, and the high pressure is going to kill it and move it a little bit further south. But everything could form right here, and you do have a chance anywhere from 10 to 20% in that orange, and that yellow is 30 to 40%. So you can see it comes off strong, weakens greatly, but it starts traveling more north. And a lot of the energy does still go into the Eastern Pacific. And as we go towards August 7th, the beginning of August, you can see the percentages does drop down dramatically, but now you start getting a 5 to 10% chance in all this pink. But everything is still traveling to the south, coming off the coast of Africa, going through the Caribbean, still going to the Eastern Pacific. But it could be something that could spin up a little bit of a chance in the Gulf of Mexico at this time. Now, this chance is shown both by GFS and Euro that something could get into our Gulf of Mexico. Confidence is not really high yet. And as you go past August 7th, then you really see that it kind of quiets down for our Caribbean, and it really comes off our MDR a little bit stronger, taking that northern track. So I really think that we have a better chance of getting something forming not only towards Bahamas, the southeast of the U.S., maybe even towards the east coast if this high pressure moves further to the east, northeast as we go into August. And I did see the other day that when I told y'all about the hurricane season update, a lot of people was like, oh, you're only showing the sinking air and the lift with the Euro. Well, the Euro is actually giving y'all the best opportunity for something to form. I will show you the others, and you'll see why I say that. So as you go for week 1 all the way to the 23rd of July, this is by the GFS. You can see we have all this sinking air in our region. And as we go towards the 22nd of July, we started getting a little bit of lift passing through the MDR with all the sinking air, still have all this dust, and it starts moving its way a little bit west. And this is what's going into the Eastern Pacific and going to form there. It's not no threat to any of us. And you can also see this on your NASA satellite. So as all this plume of high pressure, all this dust comes into our Caribbean, we get all this suppression of all this precipitation going right into the monsoon trough, and it carries from the 22nd into the 23rd, and it forms up into the Eastern Pacific, as well as the wave that comes right behind that one that forms up in the Eastern Pacific as well. So both of these waves are going to be going into our Eastern Pacific, no threat to the U.S. all the way to the 26th of July. So as we take a look at the updates from our potential velocity anomaly, according to the GFS, you can see right around the 20th and 21st, we do get some lift, some vorticity coming off the MDR, meets up with some dust, takes that southward push, and forms up around the 21st, maybe the 22nd, of some systems that could form. This is what's going in Eastern Pacific. This is what I just showed you with the NASA satellite, as well as the one around the 27th through the 29th. Now, some of the Ensemble members show this could go into our Gulf, but it is showing on a NASA satellite that this is going into the Eastern Pacific as well. And we have another one coming off right at the end of July, beginning of August. And this is the one I'm showing that could take that northward push coming off the MDR. So GFS is starting to see the lift in the area. However, no main threat towards the U.S. just yet. And Euro is still not picking up on all this lift. So when you go into week 2 for the GFS all the way to July 31st, you can see we get a little bit of lift, a little bit of neutral in between all this sinking air all the way to the 25th, all the way to the 26th. It starts making its way towards Central America, all the way to the 27th. It's over here by Central America. And this is what's forming up in the eastern Pacific. But you can also see we start getting some rising air coming off to MDR by then and start slowly making its way towards the Caribbean. And by the time we get towards the end of July, then we have lift according to the GFS going all the way into our eastern Caribbean and slowly making its way into the western Caribbean by the time we get to the 31st of July. Then it backtracks a little bit to where you get a little bit of a neutral phase, and we actually get some sinking air into our Gulf of Mexico. That our Gulf of Mexico is not going to be as active as potentially our southeast or our east coast of our U.S. as we get going into August. Now, of course, I'm not saying that this hurricane season is a bust by far, because they are predicted to have a lot of storms, a good bit of hurricanes coming. I'm just showing it's going to be probably later August, more than likely going to be more hectic in September. I'm showing August is going to be a later start, and this dust usually hangs around not only for July, but portions of August as well. And our first serious hurricane in the Atlantic average is around August 10th. So as we look at the update from the potential velocity anomaly according to the Euro, you can see how it has a lot coming off strong off the MDR all the way to the end of July. At the same time, fighting a lot of sinking air. It's going to be a lot of dust. But you can see some small systems forming from now all the way till August 6th. And it continues all the way through the month of August. You still have a lot of sinking air in the region coming off strong off the MDR, because we are going into some lift around this time coming off the MDR and making its way towards the Caribbean. But look at these systems that they do have. This is too far west. This one right here is weak. This one right here is in the MDR. Weak, gets suppressed by the dust. Then we have one that's coming in late August that has its best potential. Still too far to be sure, but if anything forms up and affects us in August, it's going to be later in August. And when you look with the sinking air or rising air according to the Euro, you can see how you have that system moving through the Western Caribbean, very much neutral, not no big deal. That's what's going in the Eastern Pacific. But once you go towards the 26th of July, it's taking it to where you're getting some lift in the Gulf of Mexico. It's doing it backwards from the GFS. GFS shows that the lift is going to come off the MDR first. Euro is showing that the lift is going to come through our Gulf of Mexico first and stretch out through our MDR all the way to the beginning of August. This will be the best time for anything to form up. It's the very beginning of August, all the way towards the middle of August. And it goes all the way towards the 15th of August, where it has moderate lift in the area, all the way from the Gulf of Mexico to the MDR. That's why GFS and Euro is a little different. But right after that, when you go towards the 20th of August, it starts turning a little neutral for the Gulf of Mexico and Western Caribbean. Then we start getting some sinking air towards late August in our Gulf of Mexico, and it turns neutral in the MDR. So we do have some lift passing through, but what I'm showing so far is these are going to be a possible northern push coming off the MDR, and we're not going to really get this going real good into our Gulf or Western Caribbean until we get towards the end of August, definitely for September. And just to be well-rounded, when you look at the CFS on the sinking air or rising air, it's showing an even worse case scenario, guys. It shows not only the sinking air we have all the way to the 26th of July, but it is agreeing that we're going to get some lift in our Gulf of Mexico first, then stretch out towards our MDR as you go towards the end of July. But it's showing that everything is pretty much going to be in a neutral phase for the beginning of August, with some sinking air right around the 10th of August coming off the MDR, staying all the way towards the middle and late August, with a lot of sinking air coming off our MDR and a neutral phase for our Caribbean and our Gulf of Mexico. And as you look at all three, you can see this kind of everywhere. GFS is showing it's going to be hot coming off the MDR first, and that's what we're seeing with the Euro potential velocity anomaly. Euro showing is going to be really good lift coming through the Gulf of Mexico, then the Caribbean first. And the CFS is showing that the same thing as the Euro. It's going to be some lift coming off the Gulf of Mexico and stretching to our MDR, but it's going to stay through a neutral phase through August with some sinking air coming off our MDR. So I will keep you updated. All three is showing a little something different, but I'm still showing a northward push as we go into August. Now, I am showing we do need to keep our eyes still on these tropics, guys, because according to the Ensemble members, more than likely outcome as you go towards the end of July, you already know what the first few waves are going to do, that it shows that it could get a wave. You see the wave right here, and it could pop up a more than likely outcome as we go towards the end of July and the very beginning of August. Something could either pop up in the Western Caribbean, go into our Gulf of Mexico and maybe strengthen, or more than likely follow the Yucatan and go west, southwest like the rest of these have been going. And when you follow it according to the Euro, you can see it has a good chance for something come in late July, right straight through our Caribbean, but it stays suppressed to the south, southwest, goes across the Yucatan just like the other Ensemble on GFS, and goes into the Pacific. And there's a smaller chance that something could form up out of that precipitation going into our Gulf of Mexico like GFS showed. At the same time, you can see we also have a probability of something coming off the coast of Africa and going around this Bermuda Azores high pressure. And it could either swing out into the Atlantic, be a fish storm, or it could go more eastern and go around and swing around towards our east coast. And you can see on the update on your shear on what's going on in the tropics that according to the Caribbean, shear is at an all-time low. This is our average line right here for July, August, September, October. And the shear is very low in the Caribbean. And the shear in the tropical Atlantic is right at average for right now. And it is expected to strengthen a little bit, but weaken right back down as you go towards late August, September, and October. But please remember that we are just getting started. I'm still not showing everything is going to pop off in August. I'm still showing it's going to be maybe late August and still going to pop off in September. As you look at our season, you can see right when we go into August, it does start rising up, but it's not our main part of the season. It really is all the way from August 20th all the way to October 20th is our highest points of when this hurricane season really starts to ramp up. So late August into September is when I'm seeing when we have a lot more potential storms coming our way and hurricanes. As you can see here, as we go into August, our more than likely outcome of formation is right here in this orange. We could get some that could go into our Gulf, and I did show you that, but more than likely they will swing around the southeast of the U.S., going around this high pressure. This is for August. But in September is when everything really is going to wake up. Not only does that potential grow all the way in this orange, all the way to the southeast, it also grows for the Western Caribbean into our Gulf of Mexico as we go into September. So I'm still showing August 20th all the way to October 20th is going to be our worst part of this hurricane season. When you look at the weather for Africa, you can see with all the winds coming off, blowing all these storms our way, all the Saharan dust blowing up, you can see it does start making a northward push on the winds as they come across Africa. And instead of the storms forming up right here for southern Africa, they're going to start forming up a little bit more northern as they come off the MDR. And you can see this shot right here from Africa that as we start getting these storms, they start making that northward push as it's going through this wind stream across Africa, going a little bit further north as we're going into late July. And you can see this when you look at our dust also. The dust is right now a little bit further southern, but you'll see eventually that it starts pushing everything a little more northern off the coast of Africa instead of southern. And that's by the time we get in towards the 21st and beyond. And you can see the first wave that does come off does stay choked up by the dust, by the sinking air as it comes off for late July, but it's a little more northern through our MDR than down here what we've been seeing going through the monsoon trough and forming into the eastern Pacific. So the next wave that comes off, even though you have dust behind it and in front of it, that's why it shows it's weak in a potential velocity anomaly, because it's getting choked up as it comes off the MDR. But once again, if you look at it, it is further to the north. So this could carry right into where we're expected things to form for August as it swings around possibly to our southeast. Now you can see this with your precipitable water with the Euro. You get this tropical wave that is moving through the MDR, while the rest of those waves move through the eastern Pacific, that it stays suppressed to the west, southwest. But some of the precipitation does break off and it gets pushed to the west southwest, as well as what starts to come off the coast of Africa as we go towards the 22nd and beyond. You can see the precipitation starts headed more northern on these next few waves than the southern wave that we've been getting normally. So these ones that's going to be coming off MDR is going to be a little more northern as it come off towards the end of July. And when you look with the GFS, you can see a little bit further, and you can see these waves are going to continue to stay northern off the coast of Africa. So as we look on the 21st, you see that next wave that comes off does stay weak, does stay a little more northern as it travels across the MDR. Nothing expected to form at all. But you can see how it stays northern all the way to the 30th of July as we get that next wave behind that, and that one heads more northern as well. So these waves are going to start headed more northern off the MDR, giving it a good chance to form up somewheres around the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and probably go towards our southeast or get swung around the high pressure and stay in the Atlantic. I will keep you updated. It's still too far to know for sure, but the new pattern that I see is a more northern push. But as you look for your pressures, according to the GFS, it sees a little bit further that these storms stay very weak, little upper level lows that comes off the MDR, goes into the Pacific, forms up. They're going to run through so many tropical names, it's unreal before we even get started in the Atlantic. But everything comes off all the way to late July as just an upper level low, pretty weak system. We have this big expanding high pressure still going all the way into our Gulf of Mexico. It makes it a little stretch to the north, but it expands and still covers the MDR all the way to the Caribbean, all the way to our Gulf of Mexico, where nothing could form. And this is all the way to August 1st. So as these waves come off the MDR more northern, they're going to get choked out by this high pressure and not last too long. And you can see this when you look for just a tropical depression according to the Euro. As we keep going through our days towards the end of July, you see everything is pushed through Central America going into the Eastern Pacific. But once you go towards the end of July, then these waves are going to start going a little more northern and a little more confidence of strength. So these will start heading a little more northern, running into this high pressure. Now the high pressure could kick it at the last second and turn this right by the Bahamas and go into our Gulf. So we still need to stay on top of these. Something could spin up very quick, especially if it gets into those warm waters of the Gulf. But it is showing a more northern push. Now, as we look at the ensembles of what could happen out of these waves, you will see that there is opportunity for this to go into our Gulf of Mexico. Matter of fact, on our last run, you can see clearly by the end of July that we actually could get that high pressure moving to the east-northeast, and something could form up at the last second by the Western Caribbean and go into our Gulf. But once again, with this being your controlled member, you can see that your more than likely outcome is that the high pressure is going to stay there, steering these systems into the Eastern Pacific all through July, all the way to the beginning of August. That will not happen. That actually high pressure will be stretched all the way out still, and nothing could form. It'll be going into the Eastern Pacific. Matter of fact, when you look at the updated run this morning, you can see clearly that it changed its mind. It's saying it's going to take a little further of a western push, and this could either form up by the Yucatan now, it's saying, or something very weak into the Bay of Campeche, still pushing to the west because of all this high pressure. And still the control member is saying that it still will not have a chance. It will get pushed into the Central America, go out to the Caribbean, and this is by late July, the beginning of August. That would not be forming up into our Gulf of Mexico, not even something weak. That we will have a lot of high pressure still protecting the Gulf of Mexico. Even though we see these ensembles showing potential chance for it to go through the Bay of Campeche at that time, but that's about it. But when you look at your possible cyclone locations, according to GFS, not only is it still showing these waves coming off weak, dying off, and forming up somewhere by Central America going into the Eastern Pacific, is still showing by late July that there is a potential chance for something to form up in the Western Caribbean and go through our Gulf of Mexico and strengthen up, or maybe go west like we've been seeing in the ensembles. So there's still that chance, as well as the waves coming off the coast of Africa is making a northward push and dying off very quickly. But I'm showing by the Euro also that we do need to keep our eye on these next few waves, because in the last minute, something could form up when it gets away from all this dust. And you see with the SpaghettiOs, according to the Euro, as you go towards late July, it starts bringing a wave through the Caribbean, and it does take a northward push just a little bit as that next wave that finally pushes towards the Bahamas gets away from the high pressure, while that next wave coming off does take that northward push. But at the same time, it's shown there's a possibility that something could form up as we go towards late July. And that's seen by both Euro and GFS, that something could spin up quick in our Gulf and be close to home, while this one will more than likely still take that westward push. But still, I wouldn't leave this out of track. It still could be western Gulf of Mexico, could still affect Texas as well. So I will keep my eye very close on this. So I truly hope this helps you understand a little bit better of what's going on for our hurricane season. I'm still showing we have potential for something potentially coming into our Western Caribbean, maybe even our Gulf as we go into late July. But as far as August, is showing a little bit less confidence that it's going to be this big bangorama that's going to be happening for our hurricane season. I'm showing it's going to start off a little bit slow, but then it's going to start picking up as we go towards late August and September. So if you ask me, my opinion is it's going to be a late bloomer of a hurricane season. We're still going to have a storm or two that could be probably affecting us during August. But September is a month that we really need to get prepared for, because by September, usually all this dust is gone and there's nothing stopping these storms from strengthening. The shear is very low. The waters are warm as ever, and there's nothing stopping these storms from coming. So I'm showing late August, September really will be our big ramp up of the hurricane season. But God bless you all. Thank you so much for visiting my channel today. I truly hope you have a very blessed and a very peaceful Sunday, you and your families. God bless you. Psalm 123. Unto thee I lift up mine eyes, O thou that dwellest in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of servants look unto the hands of their masters, and as the eyes of a maiden unto the hand of her mistress. So our eyes wait upon the Lord our God, until that he have mercy upon us. Have mercy upon us, O Lord. Have mercy upon us, for we are exceedingly filled with contempt. Our soul is exceedingly filled with the scorning of those that are at ease, and with the contempt of the proud. Amen. God bless you all today. Have a very blessed Sunday out there. I will do a severe weather video first thing tomorrow morning, because that tornado threat is starting to ramp up for the Northeast. Plus the stronger storm coming around the 20th that I've been telling you about. I think we really need to think about that one as well. But thank you so much once again for visiting my channel. Have a truly and blessed Sunday, everybody. All power, all glory does go to Yahweh, God of Jacob, our Father, forever and ever. Amen. Hallelujah. Have a very great day, everybody.